The following is presented by Gold Clover Extracts.
Welcome to Star's Healing Universe. I'm Star, and today we are meeting with Kausalya. She is a healing practitioner of Reiki, and also she does sound healing. She's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with her. Stay tuned. Thanks, guys. Hi, Kausalya. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Star?
Thank you so much for having me here in your healing space, and feel really blessed to be seeing you and being part of your healing and what you do. Can you tell us about Reiki?
Yes. Reiki is a light touch modality. It is done with a person either sitting in a chair or laying on a table. The most important thing is that the receiver's comfortable. And then it's just light touch. There are certain areas where the energy flows into the body easier. We work a lot with the body systems to help release toxins in the body. And it helps a person on all levels, on a physical level, on a mental, emotional level, even on a spiritual level. So when we're feeling good, physically, mentally, and emotionally, we always feel more connected to our own spiritual knowing. So it helps that way as well.
Beautiful. What's the origins of Reiki?
So Reiki is a system that was developed by Mikao Usui, who's this gentleman up here, and in the 1920s. And he discovered Reiki through a side effect of him trying to achieve a state of enlightenment. He basically went up on Mount Karama to achieve death. He had gone through several things that and worked towards a state of enlightenment. He had trauma in his life, a trauma related to like failure in business and things like that. And then he spent 3 years in a temple. And after that 3 years, he felt that he wasn't at the stage of enlightenment that he needed to be. So he went to the headmaster at the temple and said, I'm not where I should be. I feel like I should be at a different stage of enlightenment. I've done all this spiritual work and I'm not there. And and his mentor said, well, there's only one other way to get to that stage of enlightenment, and that's through death. So you're going to have to try that if that's if that's what you want to achieve. And so he literally went on the mountain to fast and to die, but he didn't. He was up on the mountain for approximately 20 days. We don't know exactly. And instead of dying, he sort of described this whole thing of feeling something in the middle of his forehead and kind of blacking out. And then when he came to, he felt different. He felt energized. He felt that he had achieved, what that state of enlightenment instead of dying. And so he was very excited, and he, went running down the mountain. And on his way down, he injured his foot. And, when we hurt ourselves, we automatically touch. And he realized, after a short period of time that him touching his foot, it felt better. He had ripped his toenail off, and it had stopped bleeding. And so he realized there was something going on, with his hands. And so he made his way down to the bottom of the mountain and came across a girl in a village below that had a issue, with her teeth, and he helped her as well. And he realized, oh, something's going on here. And so he wanted to verify that with his mentor. So he made his way back to the temple, and he spoke with his mentor, and he explained, this healing ability is a side effect of the enlightenment. And so because he had done all this spiritual work, like it was very quick for him to develop this system of Reiki. And there was other healing modalities going on at that time, that were similar, and in Japan they have, there's different belief systems. Like when he grew up, he went to a Pure Land Buddhist school, because at that time they would go to schools that were, in their village, and they were mostly like whatever the spiritual practice was. So he went to a Pure Land Buddhist because that's what was in his village. And then also Shinto is very big practice. It's not a religion, but it's a very big spiritual practice in Japan, and it has a lot to do with the gods or the kamis being in nature. And so he was very influenced by these spiritual practices that he grew up with. So it was very easy for him to take concepts and apply them to the practice. So Reiki's not a religious modality, but he was influenced by his own knowing from the way he grew up and the way his culture was. He was highly influenced by the Meiji Emperor, because the Meiji Emperor was, an important person in the Japanese culture at that time. So he utilized some of the poems of the Meiji Emperor when he was doing empowerments, when he was teaching, students. And, he worked, just to heal people and to teach them. Then there was a big earthquake in 1923, and that's really when people became more aware of him, because he went around and he was one of many. He wasn't the only, but he became more well known from that. It was a devastating earthquake, and over 700,000 people lost their lives, and it was, and so he went around and helped people heal, taught people how to help their families, and it just kind of grew from there. And he, through that process, he taught 20 Shihans, and one of those people were Chichiro Heihachi, and he is pretty well known, especially like in the Western culture, because he is Mrs. Takada's teacher. Mrs. Takada was the person that brought Reiki to the West, and really, kind of kept it alive. There was things going on with the war, this is after Isui passed and Heihachi passed, there were things going on with war, and she was in Hawaii, and so she was able to kind of keep Reiki alive. But things did change, so, and really they changed based on her memory, like the way she remembered things. And even after she passed, she left 22 masters, and they developed the system that we use today in Western Reiki, the levels and the Reiki master and all of that. So that was more developed by her 22 masters. But
so you're a Reiki master.
I am a Reiki master.
Okay. And how many hours did you work to get that?
Well, I became a Reiki master in 2007. Okay. And in Western lineages, there's not a training process for that. You can go and take all the classes and become a Reiki master in whenever you want. Like, there's not really a training process for it, in a lot of the lineages. The thing about Western Reiki is there's many lineages, thousands of lineages. If you Google Reiki on the internet, you'll see all different kinds of Reiki. And so, but speaking specifically about the origin of Isui Sensei's Reiki, always the lineage on the Western side is Isui Sensei, Heihachi Sensei, and Mrs. Takada. Okay. Yeah. And then I practiced for 8 years in the Western practices, and I taught, and I loved it, and I helped a lot of people. But there were things that just didn't make sense to me as far as information. And as a teacher, I was always like pushing, and I studied with three different teachers, and it led me to the lineage that I work in now, which is the Jikiden Reiki, which is the Japanese form. And it's I love it because it's uninfluenced by other cultures or modalities. So we get the pure form of Isui Sensei's teachings as Heihachi Sensei taught them.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cool. My teacher is Chioko Yamaguchi. So my teacher is her son, Tadao Yamaguchi, and then also Frank Arjava Petter, who is very well known, and even in the Western Reiki culture, and he's written some wonderful books, and he's dedicated his life to like verifying our history. So it's not just legend or story. Things make sense. We have real verified history, and so I love that. And the Yamaguchis, it was in their family. My teacher, when he was a child, they didn't have medicine cabinet. They didn't have a first aid kit. They didn't go to the doctor. They had Reiki.
Beautiful.
His mom would put his hands on him, and so they didn't know any other way. And that's kind of what happened when the war broke out. Reiki went underground. Because the U.S. came in and declared the occupational doctrine, and a lot of the hands-on healing modalities were to be stopped unless they were done, through medical practitioners or like private clubs. And Chichiro Hayashi was a naval medical doctor, so he was able to openly train and practice, and so he was instrumental in getting it to the West. And the thing that I love so much is that the Japanese teachings, they honor Mrs. Takata, and they appreciate her keeping it alive. So there's not any the teachings were wrong. There's all this stuff influenced. It's not like that, and I love that because it's and without her, I would have never made it to the original teaching. So that to me is
it's a gift. She was a gift.
Yeah, definitely a gift. And Western Reiki, I helped a lot of people. And so I think it's important not to discount it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found with the Japanese lineage is that for me and for my clients, it seems to be, I don't know, there's just something about it because there's nothing in the way, so the energy just takes care of the issues faster. We have specific treatment for mental emotional. With Western, we treat the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, and those are all aspects of the soul. And with the original teachings, we're healing at a soul level, so all those things are included. We go right to the source instead of the aspects of the source, and neither way is wrong. They're just different approaches. And so I love that. But the Yamaguchis were discovered. Tadao himself was, very instrumental in bringing it to the surface because he was doing his own spiritual path, going to classes, and that's where he met Western Reiki masters, and he was like, wait, Western other people are doing Reiki? Wow. They didn't know. Yeah. They thought it was just in their families. So they realized he said to somebody at one of the seminars or classes that he was at, I do Reiki. And they asked, who did you learn from? And he said, my mother. And who did she learn from? And he said, Hayashi Sensei. Wow. Well, Hayashi Sensei is very well known in the Western lineages. And they were like, oh my God, your mother learned from him. And so, it just kind of happened that way, Yeah. And Chioko Yamaguchi learned because it was in her family, and her uncle Sagano was a huge instrument of having the whole family learn. Him and his wife benefited greatly from his wife was healed from TB with Reiki, and they lost 2 children from TB. So it was a profound thing in their family, and so he did everything he could, to make sure that all the family members, learned this. Yeah, and she learned very young. She was one of the very youngest, 17. Sagano, her uncle, would not let her take classes until she had completed her schooling, and so there's pictures of her at the very first seminar. And, it's very sweet. There's this very young girl, and her sister also, her older sister, and really all of her family members. And it just kind of stayed in the family, And the difference, I think, one of the things that's important, for me even to remember, is that, the Japanese lineage is not influenced by other cultures and modalities because they had somebody to say, oh, is it this? Oh, is it that? Because it was more oral. Like, they weren't allowed to take notes. They weren't allowed to, they weren't given manuals. They weren't given materials. Like, they would take the course over and over again, And the same thing with Mrs. Takata, she wouldn't let people take notes, but she really didn't start teaching for over 30 years later. Not really. Like, we have when we look at her list, she learned in the late 30s from Heihachi Sensei, but the 22 masters, most of them didn't get, their master's teachings until like the 70s. So we're talking about over a 30-year span. So it's like, the memory of the person, is so, but both the origin's the same, so. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I have a question. How you worked with the veterans, right?
I do.
Yeah. How's that?
So I still do work with the veterans. So I do a clinic once a month, the first Friday of the month, with my students.
Perfect.
And we do it at the Eureka Vet Center. So it's for the clients of the Eureka Vet Center, which is open. All their services are free to veterans. And we've been doing clinic for, we're going on, since 2009. And they get like a 20 to 25 minute session. It's free. And it's amazing. The military did studies themselves with Reiki in 2007 in Fort Bliss, Texas.
And what did they find out?
They found out that it helped with PTSD symptoms. Perfect. They found out that it helped build the immune system.
Yes.
And so this happened at the Restoration and Resilience Center in Fort Bliss, Texas. And Reiki is one of the only alternative modalities that the military allows. So we've been able to do something. Yeah, we've been able to do clinics there. Yeah. And, of course, we have a form that they fill out when they come so they understand we're not medical doctors, you know. And then they have a form that they fill out afterwards, kind of just telling, like how they're feeling better. Yeah. And then the nice thing about the Eureka Vet Center is that that's where all the counselors are at. So therapists are there. So if a person starts, needing to process or release, it's wonderful because we can take them from a session and get the counselor. And so
so beautiful.
It's really wonderful. Yeah. I've seen so much amazing things happen with the veterans, with the PTSD and with anxiety and with all those things, we focus on not telling them to relax because I find that when you tell someone to relax, the second you tell them that, they're like, oh crap, I gotta relax, and it's impossible. So we focus on making sure that the client's comfortable, and that means if they're sitting in a chair, we just want to make sure that they're sitting in a comfortable position. And then if they're laying on the table at the clinic, they give us a room and they let us do what we want. So we sort of camouflage put things over the bookcases and put a sheet over the bookcase. We put crystals on the windowsill. And it's wonderful. So, and then like I said, my students help me. So we usually only have 2 tables going, and we do, sometimes we only have 7 people, and sometimes we are full and we have like 16 people or plus. And then if we don't have a full schedule, we try to pull staff in even,
Wonderful.
Because and that's the other thing too, most of the employees that work there are veterans as well. So it's like veterans helping veterans. It's really wonderful. So, and I think the thing that I love about it is it doesn't have anything to do with your belief systems of war or military. It has to do with giving people healing that need healing. Exactly. And for me,
People need it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, especially somebody that has PTSD or that's gone through
So much
what
trauma.
they've gone through. Yeah.
War.
And
Yes.
so I think it's really important that we help the people that need help without judgment of how they got there. You know, I think it's important.
Well, bravo. Thank you for
So,
doing that for
yeah.
our veterans. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's very needed.
I think so.
And I think it's really amazing that our government is okay with Reiki. It says something about
Yeah.
the healing power
Mm-hmm.
that Reiki has. I've experienced it, and
And it's really about your healing, you know,
Yeah,
because
individual.
what we're doing as facilitators is assisting the person. So it's like, I'm not healing you, you're healing you. And all I'm doing is just channeling that energy and letting it flow through me so that your body can restore.
yes.
You don't have to touch the person.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have our hands slightly above. I have, clients that have fibromyalgia and they don't want to be touched, you know, they can't. And so I can still give them a full treatment and not touch them, you know. Touch is better, you know, but if it's whatever the person needs and how they need it is, you know, the way we do it. And then we can also send distance, you know, we can send Reiki
I've
through
had
distance.
that,
And
yes.
that's, you know, it's, of
Very
course, hands-on,
helpful.
face-to-face is always better, but distance works just as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to tell us? Do you do a monthly?
Oh,
You
yeah.
do something in McKinleyville here.
I
Right?
do.
Okay.
I do.
Tell us about that.
So once a month we do
Okay.
a little Jikiden Reiki clinic at Spirals of Life Wellness Institute.
Okay.
And we were doing it the first Monday of the month, but I think we're going to be switching it to like a Saturday morning or something because it's hard for people to get there right after work, and so we're thinking there might be a better time. So right now we're switching the days, but and it's just a 2-hour clinic, so we can see like 8 people in that 2 hours.
Okay, so people have to.
They just need to call.
And sign up, right?
Yeah, they can
Okay.
call me at
Call and sign
707. Yeah, 707-382-2779, or they can call Carrie Green at Spirals of Life Wellness Institute because we're working together. And then it depends on how many students we have. Sometimes we can put up 2 tables and that's all because of it. Sometimes it's only just me and Carrie, and then sometimes we have 2 or 2 other people. We can put up 4 tables. So it just depends on how many students we have. It's not a walk-in. We do the person does need to make an appointment.
So call.
Yeah. So you want to call, definitely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
You're so welcome.
all of your love.
Oh, thank you for having me and for your
Thank you.
thank you for what you're doing too, Star. So I know, Star, today we talked about Reiki, and I also do sound healing, which is another vibrational healing modality. And so I thought it would be nice for you guys to experience that as well, and also something that you can offer your viewers. They can just lay down and listen to the sound healing that we're going to play today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
So we're just gonna, what I'd like to do is just have you guys just take a few deep breaths in, past the belly button, okay? And you don't need to work or do a meditative breath. After that, I just want you to have comfortable breathing, okay? I invoke the spirit of Shamael, angel of sacred sound. May the sound of light surround us. May the light of sound guide us. May sacred sound come through me for the healing and harmony of all. you.